This 1923 T-Bucket Roadster found its way into the shop this winter. Now we got to figure out what to do with it. It doesn't have a hood or an air cleaner, and it's been sitting outside in the elements for at least the last 5 years or so. So the motor's locked up real good. And I don't have time anytime soon for a project of this capacity. So we have to make the best of what we got and hope to make a few bucks on it and sell it. So, can it be saved? It's time to find out. Let's dig in. So what you see here is a 1923 steel body turtleback Model T Roadster with a custom frame that must have came off of something. I don't know. I don't recognize it. It's not your standard speed shop frame. Somebody did put a new front end and at one point in time new calipers and rotors on it. However, I rolled it into the shop, cut my hands all up on these wonderful condition tires that will not hold air. And I got to looking at it, and there's a vision here. This thing would be a sweet machine, but maybe just not for me. I don't know. This car needs someone that can dedicate a little bit more time than what I have to it and build something really cool out of it. Here'd be the window frame, a two-piece model. Something's broke, needs a date with a welder. Okay. Back here we have a GM 10-bolt, I want to say. And some very custom 3-link setup with half leaf springs on it and some old school air shocks. So that's pretty cool. Somebody definitely had a vision on this thing. I don't know if geometrically this would work or not, but I don't intend to find out either. Moving forward, we have a Turbo 400 and what looks to be a throttle body injected OBS Chevy 350. Oh, look, there's the rest of the truck sitting in the valley, along with half my buddy's tree as well. Like I said, this thing's been sitting outside for a long time. Right in the condition you see it in now. Fairly confident the motor is locked up. And there's probably no hope for it, but that doesn't mean we're not going to try. So I think first step would be to let's see if it's free or not. And then we'll go from there. Now I know better in this case than to try to put a ratchet on the crank bolt and try that way. And on GMs, you have a slight advantage here because of the access cover for the transmission. You've got access to the flywheel and you can get a pry bar on there and get a lot more leverage that way. So I'm going to try that first just to see if this thing's going to move at all. Probably not. But let's give it a shot. Nope. She is locked up tight. All right, well, let's get the spark plugs out and get my new toy out I just bought, and let's see what inside the cylinders look like. So I just got this endoscope off of Amazon. I think it cost me 30 or 40 bucks, but as you can see, the picture's pretty good on it, and should tell us what we need to know. Let's check out these cylinders. Well, let's check out that valve first. You can tell this thing's been sitting outside for a long time. But let's go down the spark plug holes and see what we're working with. That one looks really rough. I don't know if there's going to be any saving this or not, but that won't stop us from trying. I know a few tricks. Let's check out another one. That one looks pretty good. The valves must have been closed on that one. I don't think that one's going to put up too much of a fight. But when there's one, there's always more. Oh, let's check this one out. Trying to get a good photo for you guys here. I think even with a bad photo, we can already come to the conclusion that there might not be much hope for this. I don't know. Looking pretty rough. That one looks okay. Let's jump to the other side here. Yeah, I'm seeing a pattern here. Not bad. That one might have a broken piston. I don't know. And that one I know it's difficult to see, but it's not bad. There we go, that's a little better. So what to do in this case? Well, turns out my buddy just got done doing a trans swap down here, and I have some old fluid laying around that's full of metal shavings. But I also have some paint strainers. So I think what I'm gonna do is run that fluid through a filter, put it in a squirt gun, and fill those cylinders, let them sit for at least a night. Maybe I'll come back tomorrow night and see if it'll budge or not. If not, time is on our side here on this. Probably let it sit for a week or so, then try it again. If not, maybe we'll try a different mixture, some other stuff, or Or we'll just give up on it at that point. I don't know, but let me get some stuff mixed up, and we'll do that next. So I got some ATF filtered through a paint filter into this squirt gun apparatus. It's probably as old as the Model T, but I think it squirts. Yep. Let's fill these cylinders, let it sit, come back and revisit this. All right. So we have it well lubricated now. Definitely looks like some bad stuff went down. But now we wait. I'm gonna come back tomorrow night and revisit this, put that pry bar back on it, and see if we did any good or not. I don't have very high hopes for this one, but I might be surprised. We will see what happens. See you soon. Welcome back to night 2 on the Just Me Model T. Trans fluid, it's been in there for about 24 hours now, give or take an hour or so. Had time to soak, think about what it's done, and hopefully we can make some progress tonight. As you guys can see, made a few alterations to our setup here from last night. I had a motorcycle jack sitting around, so put it underneath the front straight axle and got it up in the air. Therefore, I can get underneath it a little bit and maybe get a better bite on that flywheel, which I'll show you here in a second. I've got an indexable pry bar, lady's foot, crow's foot, whatever you want to call it. I can get right up next to the top of the bell housing. I'll show you guys here in a minute, and hopefully get the most amount of leverage possible on the car. I don't have high hopes here, guys. This car has been sitting exposed, let's say, for a long time. So we'll just have to see what happens here. I'm going to give it my best shot, and if we get it to rotate, that's going to be 90% of the battle right there. Then we'll see where we go next with it. Do we slap a carburetor on this thing? Maybe a more simplistic spark distribution system on it than this TBI, and put a starter in it, of course. We see if this thing's going to fire off, or I don't know. I think I'm counting my hatchings before they chicken, or counting my chickens before they hatch. Let's see if it's going to free up first, and we'll go from there. So let me bring you on in here and show you what we got going on. Okay, T-bucket lifted. At least we got it another foot or two up in the air. Looks like a murder scene here. Definitely had some leakage overnight, has to be expected. I think a little more came out as soon as I got it up in the air too. That just means we got fluid in where we needed to, and it was draining back out. So let me crawl underneath this thing. I'll get the camera set up. We'll get a pry bar on this flywheel, and to my predictions, 2 hours later, after I've pulled a muscle in my arm and have cried for my mother probably a couple times, maybe we'll make some progress on this. I don't know. Let's find out. All right, so here is ground zero. Flywheel, YouTube, flywheel. This is what we want to try to get to rotate here. This is going to be the big battle. This motor's locked up. We've got 8 pistons in 8 combustion chambers that haven't been moved for a long time. Add Mother Nature and everything that is involved with that. And yeah, we got a fight on our hands here, guys. So I figured I'd bring you in here up and close and personal. That way you guys can see me explode my knuckles open and watch the pry bar slip off of this 1,000 times. And yeah, it's gonna be a fight, but let's just see what happens here. I'm gonna try to get a bite up in here with that pry bar. Nice little tool. It actually indexes, so you can move that top foot portion around to get into different angles and stuff. And I don't know, well, we got 16-inch handle on that, so we get a little bit of leverage, not as much as a big pry bar, but I think I want to start here and see what happens. So I guess without further ado, let's give this a shot. Yeah, not so much. All right. Ran out of throw there. Let me see if I can get another bite on something. Next tooth up. What? I think it just turned. Wow. It was that easy? Wow. Let me give this another shot here. I don't believe what I just saw. As I'm saying that, I'm feeling fluid trickling down my fingers from up above here, and it's starting to drip down here, which is telling me that stuff up there is moving. It was really that easy. Let me see if I can get another bite. Oh man, okay. So maybe that didn't happen, but I thought it did. Maybe we just settled into that rust ridge, and that's all we're gonna get. But we can then move to the other side of the car, if that did move at all, and move it back the other way. So rock it back and forth 1,000 times, maybe break on through. Wasn't that a Doors song? Yeah, probably. Break on through that rust ridge and get somewhere with this thing. But boy, I'd like to see it move one more time. Right here. It did. It's moving. A little. And we got fluid dripping everywhere. Okay, all right, let's keep it rolling. It's moving. Oh man, okay, all right. That is progress you're looking at right there. Looks like back cylinder and second one from the front are dripping, which means those pistons are in the upward travel. And it's pushing the fluid back out. Cool. It got super tight right here. Not that it didn't start that way, of course it did, but I think at this point I'm going to move to the other side of the car, try to bring it back, and we may have to do this several thousand times until we break through whatever is holding this up. And then maybe after that we can put a breaker bar on the damper where it's a lot easier to rotate an engine and try to rock it back and forth that way. So let's give that a shot next. Okay, so here we are on the driver's side of the car. We're gonna do the same procedure, see if it'll rotate back the other way. Or if I'm gonna get a pry bar in the face. Oh, well that was easier than the other side. It's moving. That was a nice rotation. Ooh, that was about a knuckle. Okay. We're getting good rotation this way. Wow, you guys saw those cylinders. I didn't think that was gonna work. But look at the rainstorm we got going down here now. I think at this point, it's moving free enough. I'm gonna put a breaker bar on that damper and see if I can get it to rock back and forth. We're not gonna have as much leverage there, but as far as ease of rotation, it's going to be a lot easier than tooth by tooth on this flywheel. So let me get set up there. I'll be back with you here in a minute. All right, guys, here we are at the front of the engine now. I've got a 5/8 deep well and the longest 1/2-inch ratchet I own. We're gonna put it right on this damper pulley here and see if we can rock this thing back and forth, if we can get it to move at all up here, and see if we can get it to fully break free. When I came over here to the driver's side, it was moving real easy, reverse direction. So I think I'm gonna start there, back it up a little bit, and then attempt the other way, and we'll see what happens. Or I'm gonna loosen this bolt on the front here. One of two things is about to happen. And we're gonna loosen a bolt. Okay, so we'll attempt to go this way with it. And hopefully not snap a bolt off in a crank. Not sure I'm liking that. Either that bolt was really loose or it's about to snap off. I'm going to give it one, maybe two more pulls and see how it feels. We might be going back underneath again. Yeah, not digging it. At least not yet. So, rather than snap the bolt off into the crank, creating a lot more work, let's go back underneath and go tooth by tooth for a while and see if we can get this thing freed up a little more. Then we'll snap the bolt off. Well, guys, one of two things just happened here. Either I just got a cut on me that I haven't found yet, and I'm bleeding out, and, well, if that's the case, it's been a pleasure making videos for you all. Hope you enjoy the content. Or we just freed up a locked up 350, and, there's the proof. It'll at least pump transmission fluid. So that's pretty exciting. It took a while, back and forth, moving that flywheel, but it finally made 360 degrees of rotation. So that's really exciting. Will it run? I don't know. Trying to figure out what the next thing to do is here. I want to put a starter on it. I want to put a carburetor on it. Get rid of this crap and that, and put something a little more simplistic on it. Something you'd see on a 1923 Model T anyways. And man, I want to see if this thing will run or not. Put some plugs in. Dump some gas down the yap. See if it'll at least bark off. Is it going to smoke? Yeah, probably. Safe bet on that. But we might have something here. Regardless, we've got more than what I had 24 hours ago. Even if I do go to sell this thing, I can at least say it's got a 350 with a chance. Might be a little more than a mock block. I don't know. So, time to get to the drawing board, I guess. But we definitely made some headway. Let's try this again. So I put the feeler out on Facebook, Instagram, all those places that a guy was looking for some Chevrolet parts. Some I don't have any in because I usually don't work on these things, but it looks like I have been here lately. Anyways, got a bunch of replies, and one guy said, "I got what you need, come see me. We'll figure it out." So that's where we're headed now. I'm gonna go meet up with this guy Dylan I've known for a while and check out his stash. So let's go see what's going on there. Well, I think we found the right place. It's my buddy Dylan.
Hey.
And we're here looking at an intake for the TBI engine right now. You say these bolt holes are specific to that?
Yeah, it's like adapted. The angle's different.
Okay. All right.
There, I believe.
And you think that'll work then for what I need?
Yeah. What else is in there?
I'd say you got plenty, man.
Yeah.
Kind of walk back here and it's kind of like car lover's paradise. You've got little corners and nooks and crannies for everything. This must be the exhaust shop over here.
Yeah, that's the exhaust shop.
And then there's the tire store. And there's your grill department right there. Moving along. Say hey, buddy.
Hi.
What's your name?
Gus.
How you doing, Gus? You having fun out here tonight?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Oh, there's a hubcap department right there. Oh, I'm about to fall over stuff. Pretty cool C10 sitting underneath, undercover here.
Yep, 86, banana frame.
Sounds like a good night, or maybe not such a good night. Yeah, Dylan, I'd say you got a little bit of everything going on.
For sure.
It definitely looks like I found the right place. So we have managed to find...
I think you're in the distributor corner.
Am I in the distributor corner over here?
Yeah.
Oh, that's where we need to head next, isn't it?
Somewhere. They're around here somewhere.
You the department manager here? Where's the distributors at, man?
I don't know.
Oh, come on now.
They might be up with all the motors in the...
They might be up there.
Oh, okay. All right.
Dirty kitty.
In the dirty kitty.
It's kind of like going to a swap meet. That's what this is.
Yeah, I love the... Trying to remember what I got.
Yeah.
Searching for other things. No, I got it.
It's kind of like my shop, man. You got to search for 20 minutes before you find... Well, the wrench you were just working with, you know, where'd that go? All right. There's more of the exhaust shop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you do have a little bit of everything, Dylan. Yeah, nice setup here, man.
Thanks.
So that was a good little find. He had a few things I needed. He said he's got the rest. He's just got to look around his place and come back in the daylight sometime. So I might head back tomorrow and get the other parts I need. The one thing he did tell me was to check this intake out, make sure it's the right one. He said these TBI motors with the studs in the center, it had a vertical plane versus the 45 as a traditional small block Chevy head. So I think what I'm going to do tonight is get this cleaned up here, get this old intake off and the distributor out, and set that one on and make sure it's going to work. Therefore, we can move forward with this thing. So that's what I'm going to do. All right, well, surprisingly, it doesn't look too bad in there. I've definitely seen worse. Of course, I've seen better as well. I'm going to get the vacuum cleaner back out, do a little housekeeping, and then we will test fit that new intake. See if that's going to work or not. Okay, it's about as clean as it's going to get for now. I'm just going to set this intake on. Of course, I'm going to get some new gaskets and stuff for it, but we're just going to see if it fits or not right now. So we got back from that parts run today, went and visited my buddy Dylan again, and he didn't have everything I needed. Well, he might have, but he couldn't find it right away. So we got what we could, and we're gonna work with that for now. I ran into a snag last night too, found something I was not expecting, but I should have expected it because I've ran into this issue in my past. But this engine is out of a early 90s, late 80s Chevy 3/4 ton, half ton, whatever. Anyways, they had these wonderful contraptions called oil coolers on them, which pretty much for you guys that don't know, it was an extension off of where your oil filter goes. I had a little fin radiator system, but also had two hoses that came out, went up to the radiator, if I remember right, on the truck I ran into this issue with, and then pumped coolant back right at the oil filter, and helped cool the engine. Probably a heavy duty towing option on some that maybe not all had, but turns out where this motor came from, it did have it. Crawled underneath, wanted to see if there was an oil filter on it. Not only is there not an oil filter, somebody had removed that cooler as well, and there is a adapter piece you can buy to bolt to the engine block, and then you can thread a filter onto that. But I had to order that piece. We got that on the way, so that'll be coming in the future here. But the roadblock is, if I do get the starter I picked up in the Dizzy, get the intake mounted, everything in time, wired up, I still don't want to start this thing because it is nasty as that block was. I'm really wanting to change the oil in it and drain whatever is in the bottom of this nasty fish tank and get that out of there and put some fresh oil in, so we have the best chance we can of getting this to go. So, but yeah, I can't put oil in it, and if I do, it'll probably come out right where the filter is, and if it doesn't, once I start cranking the motor, we're going to assume the oil pump's good in the thing. It's going to build pressure, pump out of there, and then we're going to have, well, pretty much what we already have, and a big mess on the floor. So I got to wait for some parts to come in. And kind of like the story of my life at this point. But that doesn't mean we can't make some headway tonight. Intake I got, fit like a charm. I got some gaskets off of him as well. So, probably get that put on tonight. The base gasket, I actually found a roll of cork gasket making material. Can probably get in an artsy craftsy mood and get my hobby knife out and make a base gasket for this carburetor. Potentially get that bolted on so I can attempt to fire this thing up, find out the carburetor needs rebuilt, and then promptly remove what I just did. But that's just how that goes. we could do that. Like I said, I got an HEI distributor, so we could get that put in, potentially get it in time. Plug wires, those should fit. If not, well, yeah, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here, but I got plug wires. Just trying to make a mental list in my head here. We can get the ball rolling on that. I've got some spark plugs coming as well. I just bought some new ones. We can get the starter put in. Got one of those, brand used, but we put a jump pack to it, and it did starting things. So he dug that up for me. Got a couple bolts that went with it. We can get that put in. Maybe we could hook a battery to it and at least pump the cylinders out and, you know, put a nice paint job on the side of my camper. And yeah, Mom's Thunderbird, she would love me for that. I don't know. Anyways, that's work we could do now that I won't have to do later once these other parts come in and get us a step closer. So I think that would be a good goal for the night. Let's work on that and then go from there. So my understanding with the small block Chevys, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I know someone in the comments will, they like intake gaskets on each side and then a bead of RTV on the front and rear, and piled up a little heavier on each corner. And I guess that is a real popular area for these to start leaking. So again, to my understanding, set these gaskets in, let this RTV set for a little while, and then we'll put the intake on and start the torque sequence. I cleaned up all these threads, for one reason, because they were nasty and they were hard to thread in anyways, but that'll help us get a better torque reading when we go to torque these down. So per recommendation of the internet, and it's on the internet, so it's got to be true, right? Final torque spec on these bolts is 25 to 30 foot-pounds. You want to start with your 4 corners, torque to 15, and then continue in the center and work in an outward motion all to 15. Then we'll go to, it's an intake, we'll just go right to 30 for a final torque, double check them a couple times, and we'll call it good at that. Ready? Alright, that's once around. I'm going to do another pass around, make sure everything's seated okay, and we'll call it good. Alright, judging how loose those were, I'm going to do a third pass as well. Hey, welcome back. Day 3 on Project Krusty Bucket. I think we're going to call it, because that's what it is. And made some more progress. I got some more parts in for it. Let's get you up to speed where we're at. So, got the intake on. That happened last time we were down here. In addition to that, got the HEI distributor put in. I think it's right. We'll find out. Carb unknown, Edelbrock 4-barrel. Have no clue what it looks like on the inside, but that'll either be our worries or the least of our worries. Time will tell that. Ended up finding some cork material, and I'm pretty sure my 2-year-old probably could have cut out a better gasket than what I did there, but like I said, we don't even know if this thing is going to run or not, so I think that's going to do for the time being. I'm going to put this carb on. I went to local tractor store, whatnot, found some bolts. I should have ordered the double-ended studs and the nuts and everything to do it properly, but I didn't do that. I just found some 5/16 18 threaded bolts. That'll fit in there, and bolt that guy on there for now. Starter's in. I don't know if it's shimmed up correctly or not. These GM things, I'm used to just bolting the starter in and everything works fine. So we'll see how that goes. But first, I think I want to drain whatever's down there out of there before we hit any juice to that thing and make the revolutions happen. Start pumping whatever's in there up through here. That's not going to be good. I'm going to find some new old stock oil in the back room to put in this thing. Whatever we put in here, if it does run, it will need to be drained out after this, but we need to get that far first. In order to do that, seal the engine, or seal the oil off to the engine, one of the parts I had to order was this guy right here. Now this is a 87, 88 to 91, 92, whenever they use them, throttle body injection 350. We're pretty sure this one came out of a CK series 1500, 2500, 3500 pickup truck, and most commonly found on those were these oil cooler adapters that cooled the oil. Anyways, they had another O-ring, much like the one that comes on the oil filter gasket on top, and those dried out over time, were prone to leaking, so a lot of them got deleted. So the fix to do that is to remove the whole thing altogether by this adapter piece here, and then you can thread one of these guys on. Now, I'm not big on frame filters, but it is what was available at the time. And like I said, guys, we're going to have to change the oil out on this thing again if this is all copacetic. Anyways, basically what I'm trying to say is this will seal off an oil opening and we'll get the job done. So that's just step one, though. We have some wiring to do. I bought some plugs. I'm going to try to use the old wires off the old setup if those will work. Put those back in here. Carb sealed on. We will need a fuel supply to the carb. Some other wiring. And, oh, well, we're going to have to crank this thing over and get whatever junk I dumped down the combustion chambers out before I put plugs in, or else it's going to foul them out right away, and we're not going to do anything. So, step one, oil out, adapter piece on where the oil filter goes, new oil filter on, new oil in it, hook up wiring to the starter, pump junk, and then we can go from there. So let's get started. Alright, so this should be pretty entertaining to see what junk comes out of this oil pan here. So without further ado, let's do that right now. If anything. Oh, got some water. Oh boy. Oh, what is that plastic thing stuck in there? Wow, that somewhat looks like oil. Nothing I want to run through an engine, though. There's got to be some transmission fluid in there from seeping through. Who knows? That's like some sort of gummy residue or something. Boy, I don't know. Wait till it's done draining out, I guess. Or maybe it'd be best to fish it out now, or it's still got some oil to push the rest of it out. What are you? Nope, no. Got some of it. Whatever it is, it's still, some of it's still in there. Oh, there we go. I hopefully got most of it out. The oil is flowing quicker now, so that's a good sign. Now there's still some more in there. We get it, hopefully. Be interested to see what's at the end of the tunnel here. Whatever it is, it's so thin. Alright, well, whatever the white stuff was, I think we got most of that out, so that's good. I think I'm just going to let this thing drain for a little while, because, yeah, we want all of whatever that is. We want most of whatever we can get out of there before we put any new in. So I'll be back. Okay, so we got updates here. Got the oil drained out. Let it drain for a while. Tried to look up in the hole, see if there's any other junk floating around. We're going to cross our fingers as far as that goes. I got the oil filter adapter piece mounted on, and a new Fram filter put on top or underneath of, whatever you want to say, of that. We bolted the carb down. Not that we're ready for that yet, but it is done now. You see we got some splash shields rigged up here. Hopefully that'll work to prevent lateral mess as we pump some junk out on both sides. As you can see, we got some positive and negative battery cables ran to a battery. I hope that is good. And got my jumper button ready to go. The goal here is we're going to turn the motor over. Oh, I filled the oil too. So put 5 quarts, some stuff I found on a shelf back there. Like I said, it's going to need to be changed out rather quickly after this whole endeavor anyway, so we're pretty much going to cycle all the junk that's up here down to in the pan, drain it back out again, hopefully put some more permanent, whatever you want to say, oil in it down the road. But that way, as we're spinning the engine over, can pump some fresh stuff up into the top end and start lubricating everything up there with good oil instead of the water, transmission fluid. The white stuff we're just going to call moisture junk from the water sitting outside in there, back up into the top. So we got our splash shields in place, my starter button. I don't know what's going to happen here. Is that starter going to be aligned? Perfect. Probably not good enough to do this. Are we going to grind a bunch of teeth off? I have no clue. If it is set too close, I don't have any shims here. I have to go with washers or something, but right now, it's a what if. What's going to happen here? So, let me get some light. Found some clear plastic too, so hopefully we can see the junk come right out of here. And hopefully fall that way versus this way. I'm going to step back a little bit regardless, because hopefully what will happen is it'll start pushing this plastic back out to, and something I like to call compression, which will be one of the key things we need if we're going to hope to fire this up or not. So I guess there's enough talking. It's coming down to hitting a button and seeing what's about to happen here. So let's do that. All right, so here goes nothing. Fire in the hole. All right, starter sounds good. Starting to get some junk out here. Well, that didn't hold up as good as I thought I was going to. Looks like I owe Mom a car wash. Wonder what's going on at the other side. Looks like we got compression. Looks like we got most of the stuff out of the cylinders as well. That's a good sign. All right, guys, I'm going to call that success. You can see the kind of junk coming out of these combustion chambers here on the frame. Not pretty. But is it salvageable? Check the other side out. Definitely spraying it out. A lot of the same over here, especially that front cylinder there, number 1. All right, I might just crank this over a little while longer, see what else we can get out of there. Then, I think it's about time we put some plugs in it, some wires, hook up a fuel source, hook up a few other wires we're going to need to get some spark. Finally see if this thing's going to run or not after being locked up for however many years, because it sat outside under a tree with no protection. I'll be back. All right, guys, we got updates here. We are entering the moment of truth. Let me show you what I got going on. Wires ran, plugs in, gapped, 40 thou, HEI. That should be appropriate for what we're doing. We have jumper wire running from the battery terminal on the HEI down to the battery. That'll be our kill switch, if we need a kill switch, if we have something to kill. We still have our starter wires ran. Hopefully got the distributor in time. Guess we'll find out. Got a bottle of fuel. I want to hear it bark off. I know I need to hook a fuel supply up to it. That's not what we're after first here. I want to dump some gas down the carb and see if it's going to do anything or not, even entertain me just a little bit. Got Mom's T-Bird out of the way because honestly, I don't know what's going to happen here. We're about to find out. Got potential vacuum leaks capped off on the carburetor. We got froze up choke. The important part still functions. So, vacuum advance, not hooked up yet. I want to hear it bark off. I want to see it fire off. That is where we're at. So, 350 Chevy sitting out in the wilderness. 5 years, 10 years, who knows? It was locked up. We got it freed up. We got what looks like compression. We got a bunch of junk pumped out of the combustion chambers. New plugs, original wires. Carburetor we have no clue about. HEI we have no clue about. Will it run? Let's find out. Here goes. Got a bit of a gallop to it. I don't know if I heard it fire or not. Which means it's time for more gas. Nothing. Maybe she's thirsty. Maybe our battery's going to die. Let me remedy that real quick. Alright, so we backed it up a step here. Let's confirm we got spark first before we go any further. So I have an inline spark tester hooked up. Let's turn this over again. I got a battery charger going now. See if we got any spark in this thing. Alright, I didn't see anything. Let me check my connections at the distributor and we'll go from there. Welcome back. I just spent the last hour or so checking out our no spark issue. I think I got it figured out. Let's double check and see what we got going on here. Bring the camera in here. We still have our spark meter checked out, hooked up. Let's see if all my efforts made a difference or not. Once I hit the go button here, we should be able to see some spark out of this tester here, which means we are ready. So let's see what happens. Winner, we got it. All right. Oh, we still got our battery charger hooked up. This is more looking like a surgery table now than anything. Hopefully I don't trip over any wires. Let's dump some gas down the carb and see if this engine that's been sitting outside under a tree in the elements for at least 5 years will fire off for the first time. Awesome. Let's see if we can do that again. We got a runner. Well, that's a good next step. I think next we need to get a more steady fuel supply going to it. Maybe do some carb adjustments, mess with the timing a little bit. Maybe we can get this thing to run and idle. I'll be back. And we're back with more updates. Let me show you what we got going on. We just saw it run off a bottle feeding it. So we know it'll do that. Went and got some gas and a fuel pump and hooked it up to this menagerie I have going on here. So, with a constant fuel supply to this questionable at best carburetor, will it run? Let's find out. I said I don't know how close I got the timing, if I got it a tooth off, if I have it 180. I think I got it right. We know it's barking off. So it might be somewhat close. It might not be as well. I don't have manifolds or headers on this thing. I was not able to find some in time for this. I'm going to get some though. But we're kind of working with what we got here, and I think we are good enough to at least fire it, let it run for a little while. We don't have any coolant, radiator, any of that. I want to see if this thing's going to run, and if it does, then maybe it's worth putting some more into it. But if not, I might just sell the whole shebang as is with a questionable engine. But regardless, let's get this fuel pump going. Get my coil hooked back up. See if we're going to have an electrical fire or a combustion fire first. I brought my fire extinguisher out just in case, and it's just another just me and Model T night. So, moment of truth. Here we go. We got squirters. Fire in the hole. Haha, we did it! Gosh, that's exciting, guys. I didn't think it was going to run at all. I didn't think it was going to run that good. Boy, after it warmed up for 30 seconds, it sat there. It even sounded like it was firing on all 8. And that is incredible considering the shape that engine was in when we started. I adjusted the idle a little bit, and actually the first test we did, the fuel pump wire that I had so well tethered to the positive post fell off, and that's why we ran out of business the first time. But I attached it a little better. Like I said, I turned up the idle just a little bit, and man, it even sounds like the timing is spot on. So that's exciting. That's great. Now we got to run an engine. There is a Turbo 400 sitting behind it that the torque converter's not in right now, but I have it. Will that work? I don't know. Where do we go next? I'm not sure, but my motivation for this project just went up quite a bit after hearing that. We got a runner. What's it going to take to make it a mover? Driver, a lot of work. This thing's bare bones, but we got something. I think that's going to do it for this episode. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. This, to date, has been the roughest revival yet. As in, this is the first time I've started out with one that's been locked up before, and that went really good. We'll see what comes in the future of this car and everything else I got going on. Thank you guys again for tuning in. If you want to, hit that like button. Maybe subscribe to the channel. Turn on the bell for notifications. And stay tuned for future updates on this and all the other junk I'm working on. Thanks.